How do I begin?
We're not leading the lives that we are meant for. We're meant for something else.
I think that the film, as you say, it's set in Hollywood. It's by no means an indictment of. I think in many ways it could be a love song to what is a very admirable profession, a writer who's seeking to find his voice and to share that voice, but obviously comes with very high highs and low lows and a lot of facades and for this character who's in search of meaning, maybe not even knowing that he's in that search. It definitely provides this backdrop where there's a whole cast of characters and influences, that he has to navigate, and I think that it provides also a pretty beautiful setting to be able to explore, the different, faces of humanity within that world.
The pilgrim's progress from this world to that which is to come, delivered under the similitude of a dream.
It's always, as you say, difficult to distill a Malick film in terms of plot. And I think people obviously look to the artist and look to the artist's identity. If in all cases, someone's work is always inspired by their experiences. So I think there's no exception with Terry, but I think his works are also very inspired, by his own experience as well as other things in his life, not just himself.
All those years, living the life of someone I didn't even know.
In a phase of his career right now that he's working with similar inspirations, you definitely can find commonalities, common threads, but I think they are each so distinct. They obviously have common themes of love, common themes of search, of journey, of people that are, at one place in their life seeking a deeper understanding to get to another. But in their own right, they're so different, right? Each of them have such different characters and are in such different worlds. But I think in any Malick movie, even if you look back to, Days of Heaven, Badlands, there's still certain threads that you can see. Every Malick movie hits certain marks and emotional chords that are so distinct to him.
You can be anything. Do anything. Start over.
He's more and more interested in filming almost in a documentary style and reacting to what exists. And so I think that's naturally guided him to the modern world. That's where we all live. And so I think it wasn't, a bit of an experiment, in Tree that then led to a fascination to keep exploring that world, this world, without, any of the, constructs that a period film would force one to employ. So I think that, it definitely was the beginning, and then obviously To the Wonder was set entirely in the modern world as well, in a very small rural town that almost could feel as though it's period. And then of course Knight of Cups, fully embraces the modern world and in all its ways, shapes, and forms. So I do think, it's an interesting point that it did begin on Tree in the Sean Penn sequence, and then it continued to flourish over time now.
I wanted me to help you through the dangers of a young man's life. Ambition. Fear.
He is very much a builder. He's not speaking in theory. It's usually very much about what he's seeking to achieve in that particular project or on that particular scene. So it doesn't remain abstract. It's usually very concrete with especially with me as the producer and really with everybody. It's about creating a culture of how do we do this, but also appreciating ideas and thoughts. But it's usually very concrete about how to get things done in the right way.
I've spent 30 years not living life, but ruining it for myself and others.
When he writes the treatment of the script, that's a preconceived notion of what essentially becomes the framework of what we're trying to achieve. When we get into production, much of that can be reworked based on what we discover, a new location, a cast member, the weather, things that just immediately will help to transform certain aspects of the narrative. And then of course in post-production, that's an area where he has the opportunity to completely rewrite, rework, reorganize, and find ways to rejigger to create new electricity within the scenes or within the whole the whole film itself. So I think it's each stage is a re-envisioning and a redefining, but then ultimately coalescing into within the original framework that he sought out to work with, but never being beholden to a convention or a narrative structure, really figuring out what's best for the film itself.
You're so quiet. You keep everything to yourself.
It's a wholly unique experience. It's wonderfully rewarding, wonderfully challenging. On a in a Terry set, you never know what's going to necessarily happen next, but you have to be prepared for anything. So I think as a producer, it's the best training for any director, because you're having to constantly anticipate and never get settled, never take anything for granted, because a surprise could come any minute, and it's our job and the whole crew's job to be there to move almost like a ballet, to be able to follow the music where it goes. It's a remarkable feeling to be on a set or to be in the cutting room, of a Terry film. It's very much a community, and as I said, everybody is expected to bring ideas, and no matter what position, what department they're in, and the process is wholly unique. I've never experienced anything like it. I might never again with another director, but it's really and I think an honor for everybody to be able to be a part of something that we know is producing wholly original results.
All you need to do is say yes.
Terry is always brings new qualities out of people, especially his actors. It elicits maybe forms and techniques that they haven't yet explored, or to that extent. And I think that so many of the wonderful actors that work with Terry, they're always seeking to grow and to get better in new ways. And I think they know that working with Terry is going to really help do that and help to find areas of their technique that they haven't worked with before. And I think these are very brave people that are constantly seeking new challenges. And I think that Terry epitomizes an opportunity to work in a completely different way that one might never work in again.
You think when you reach a certain age, things will start making sense. And you find out you're just as lost as you were before.
As we know, he's a very private filmmaker and really doesn't look to that as a barometer of where he's at in his journey as a filmmaker. And I think he and his whole team are looking right in front of him and how to do the best job with the material they're working on. And so I think that with any great artist's journey, the public perception will vary from time to time. I think that even if you read art reviews of Days of Heaven, of Badlands at the time, certain reviewers, Pauline Kael, others might have said one thing that now history will say completely different. But I think one of the things that makes Terry such a special filmmaker is that he's not trying to dance to that. He's focused on what's in front of him. And ultimately, I think as generations go by and we look back on the work that he's doing now, it'll stand out in the day and age that he was making it, and ultimately, and have its place in the pantheon of cinema.
The pieces of your life never to come together. Just splashed out there.
In order for him to do the work that he does, it does require a sense of privacy and a sense of quietness to focus on the work that he's doing, and to not succumb to the ebbs and flows of the public perception or that type of environment. So while of course we might long for certain things, I think that the net result of him maintaining his process in the way that he's most comfortable, maintaining that focus, enables more of these movies to get made. I think, like so many films, it's stream of consciousness. It's a dream, and for every person that sees it, they might have a totally different answer to that question of how does that unified experience exist. But the beautiful thing about a Terrence Malick movie is that it is so personal to the viewer, and they're as much a writer of that story as he is.
begin.